renewable sources. I mean, that's a tight time frame. But, and correct me if I'm wrong, but earlier this year, you told a session in Parliament that there was a need to speed up this transition. What do you need to speed up, and how are you going to do that?
Speeding up is a challenge that several countries are facing, especially those countries like Morocco, who are really progressive in their energy strategy and green in their energy strategy. So speeding up is related to firstly some of the challenges that we are facing internationally. Remember, we cannot do this out of a vacuum.
Yeah.
The world is just coming out from not only a couple of years of a historic pandemic, a total dislocation of supply chains and value chains, affecting also renewable energy as well, the way we trade solar panels and windmills. But we also have internal challenges, including speeding up and streamlining bureaucracy, and that's something that in many countries you notice. You need to have access to land permits relatively fast to ensure that investors get access to the opportunities that they want. You also need to ensure that you put the investments that you need in the grid.
Leila, let me ask you this about something that I'm not struggling with, but I want your answer. Because before you even reach providing your people with 100% renewable electricity, before you do that, you want to start exporting some of that energy. Why do that before providing Moroccans with 100% renewable electricity?
Our position today is to say, let's ensure that we are on both sides of the Mediterranean for our populations in Africa and Europe. We are taking advantage of this historic opportunity to take advantage of that additional trade. And as I said earlier, there is a lot of empowerment that comes with trade. So it boils down to energy security and energy access more than making sure that we want to export any forms of energy. So that's why, if I take a concrete example of how we are monetizing some of our gas resources, for example, of course we want to enable investors, particularly international private and national private investors, to be able to monetize their electrons or their molecules as much as possible. But at the same time, of course, the priority is to ensure that Moroccans and the people living in Morocco and people working in Morocco and the economic tissue of Morocco has access to the lowest cost, most economic green energy. I mean, that's priority number one.
I've got to ask you this because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but Morocco at this moment has contracts out there, tenders out there to drill for natural gas offshore, off your coast. That's a fossil fuel. How do you square that with this incredible ambition?
For Morocco, it's a very easy question to square. There's no balance to find because Morocco has always been a net fossil fuel importer. I mean, we're not your traditional fossil fuel exporter who would need to balance that with the renewable plants. On the contrary, those two basins that we are trying to develop, we are trying to push primarily for Morocco's domestic need because we have a power sector today that is craving gas. I think today, for energy security, I think the world has realized that we need to get away from coal and get away from more polluting heavy fuel oil and other fossil fuels. We need gas in the system. And also, why do we need gas is because if we want to exceed 50% of our installed capacity based on renewables, we need to handle the intermittency of renewables in the system.
The World Bank's recent report on Morocco says that your government has a limited amount of cash to play with. And I am just wondering if you believe enough funding is going to be there to fulfill this ambition you have.
I really don't think funding is the issue. And first, I'll remind you, Aaron, of the other big commitment of the new development model is that the government and the state should not be the one investing primarily in infrastructure and energy projects, especially when those projects are bankable. And
You're saying it's private sector.
It's primarily the private sector that we take most of the investments. Our role as a government is to ensure that we facilitate the investor story and we facilitate the access to investment opportunities and make sure that we cut through, of course, the bureaucracy and red tape. I think it's high time to ensure that the private sector takes the technology risks and the types of risks that they are able to manage.
Well, on that point, Minister Leila Ben Ali, an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thanks very much. Good luck with everything, and I'll check in with you soon.
Aaron, thank you so much for the show, and welcome to Morocco.
Well, that's it for this special edition from Rabat here in Morocco. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, you can keep up with the latest on the global economy on the BBC website or the smartphone app. Of course, you can also follow me on Twitter. Tweet me. I'll tweet you back. You can get me at BBC Aaron. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.